Private pilot Jenny Blalock and her father James Blalock were killed in the crash of their single-engine Beechcraft in Tennessee on December 7, 2023. The NTSB has now concluded their investigation and has published a final report. At the time, the accident had attracted a frenzy of online attention because the pilot had become a somewhat successful YouTuber and social media personality under the nickname TNFlygirl. But some videos Jenny posted revealed that she might have had questionable piloting skills. Previously, I posted an especially egregious example. Almost a year before her accident, Jenny seemed to get lost on a simple, easy flight between two familiar airports. She had trouble using her autopilot, lost situational awareness, flew in the wrong direction repeatedly, and even leaned on her non-pilot father for help only for him to give bad advice. The NTSB investigates every serious aviation accident, and it's not unusual for fatal accident investigations to take 1 to 2 years or more. In its search for probable cause, they will typically analyze wreckage, autopsy reports, FAA records, flight tracking data, pilot and aircraft logbooks, and they'll interview any witnesses and any people the accident pilot might have recently flown with. In this accident, 2 cameras were found among the wreckage, but one had a damaged memory card and the other was not recording. The lack of video was undoubtedly disappointing to investigators, as it is very unusual for an aircraft to suddenly careen into the ground from straight and level flight and cruise in good weather. The investigation concluded the crash to be caused by a loss of control, but how and why the pilot lost control is another question. No mechanical explanation could be found. All evidence considered, investigators believed the cause probably stemmed from the pilot's poor manual aircraft handling skills and her attempt to fly an airplane that was beyond her skill level. Specifically, there may have been a confusing or conflicting mix of autopilot, elevator trim, and manual inputs that resulted in a series of vertical oscillations which grew in magnitude until control was lost. That explanation is not really very satisfying, though. Even a below-average pilot should not lose control during cruising flight at altitude, so that again raises questions about Jenny Blalock's competence as a pilot. It did turn out she was taking several medications which could have impaired her judgment and slowed her reaction time, but how much did that factor contribute? Was she, as some people believe, so incompetent that she should have never been certified to begin with? Jenny Blalock took her private pilot check ride on May 14, 2022 in her 160 horsepower Piper Cherokee. At this point, she had almost 200 hours, nearly all of it instruction. This is far beyond the average and indicates a serious struggle. Whether her instructors contributed to her struggle or did their best to cope with a challenging student isn't certain, as she did seem to have several different instructors throughout her journey. A video she posted shows her taking her dad flying for the first time a day or so after her check ride, and they mostly enjoy an uneventful scenic flight where not much notable happens. However, the strangest part of the whole video happens at the start, where we see that she has turned over the controls to her father so she can turn around and turn on her camera.
Downtown LA traffic 48, Foxtrot Alpha, left base, cut runway 8.
Alright, my controls.
Judging from the view out the window, it's obvious they've just taken off and are only a few hundred feet in the air, and we can see the altimeter indicates about 1,100 feet above sea level. Subtracting the airport elevation, this means they are only about 300 feet off the ground. Although not illegal, I believe this is a serious error in judgment. A new private pilot should not be handing over control of an airplane to a non-pilot passenger and diverting their attention during a critical phase of flight. I'll reiterate that there's no record of her father ever having been a pilot, plus his posture and body language are not that of someone who knows how to fly an airplane. Later in this video and in others, we can see other signs of this, including comments about him being vulnerable to motion sickness.
But I don't want you to get nauseous, so just kind of enjoy the...
No,
And here's your drink right there.
Next, you'll see her give him the controls a second time, and I'm really at a loss to explain why she thought such a thing was normal, as if he was her co-pilot. At least when she does it again, it's at a safe altitude, but there seems to have been no briefing or discussion about what he should do or how to do it.
Kind of trim it down a little bit so I can get a drink of water. Actually, your controls. I'll just let you fly. How about that? All right, now then, this is the point you turn your fuel pump off and your landing light off. That's your checklist for where we're at right now. We'll climb on up to 2,500. Kind of aim more towards the right up here. Up towards the lake, because the lake's like right up here. Actually, go a little bit more, north. So no, north would be
the other way.
yeah. Here's a compass right here if you need to look. Actually, you can look at here, and you can look at here, right here.
We're 2,700 feet, right?
Oh, yeah, that's enough.
Clouds are dropping the nose down.
Yeah, here, we'll back it down.
Downtown traffic 48 Fox Alpha. Final runway 8, touch and go.
We don't want to climb too much higher on this because don't stay around 2,700. Let me show you a steep turn.
Not really, not today.
After she takes control back, they continue a flight around the local area, and Jenny discusses her check ride experience.
Well, you studied all that.
I was so over-prepared, and then it went like, my landing, I told you about my landings already, right?
No, you didn't tell me about it.
Okay, well, we started out, did it normal, just a normal landing, and then he's like, all right, we're going to do a soft field takeoff landing and a short field. I was like, all right. I thought, here we go, you know, so I did normal, then here comes my soft field. And he was like, nice. Nice. I was like, I went, oh my, thank you, Jesus. I need to wash this windshield. Those look like airplanes. So then I went back around, did my short field takeoff, and then come around, did my landing. And see, I need to go east a little bit. Let's see. Over here, I think. And then downtown traffic, Cherokee 135, 9 miles northeast of runway 8, downtown.
I need a cushion where I can see over the hood here.
No wonder I couldn't hear. I didn't have my, yours is on, I couldn't hear my,
Downtown on traffic 8 Fox Alpha on the go, remaining in the pattern, touch and goes, runway 8 downtown.
What did Wes say?
well, no, anyway, but my landings, then I did my short field, and I was like, I need to go over here to the east. And then I said, all right, I'm going to land on the second stripe. Like, okay. Hang on a second. Let me make sure my bearings are. I'm
You
gonna
lost.
Huh?
Are you lost?
No, all right, here we go.
Just kidding.
I know. And then on my short field landing, I landed like almost right on it and on the center. And he's like, nice. And I was like, all right. Those are the two things. I got those behind me. Thank you, Jesus. And then he had me go back around, do a go round. Oh, actually, I was like, well, I could actually do a forward slip right here.
48 Foxtrot. Alpha turning left. Crosswind, runway 8, touch and go, southbound traffic.
I was like, the wind was pushing me up, and I said, I actually could do a slip right here. And he's like, well, go ahead and do it. And I was like, all right. So I did the forward slip. The forward slip wasn't all the way to a landing. It was just do a go round.
Yeah.
So I did that, did my go round. I'm on my dirt pile here.
Downtown traffic 48 Foxtrot Alpha turning downwind, runway 8, touch and go, downtown traffic.
Here's my dirt pile.
That 40 right under.
Yeah, I believe so. Oh, there's my dirt pile right up ahead. I always look for that dirt pile right up there. So I did the go round, and then he didn't give me time. Well, I had my knee board out, and we went straight on into the first stop. Right, you know, there's the airport. You can see it right there. See it straight ahead.
Not really.
All right, see downtown. There's a black building. way down there.
I didn't bring my good long seeing glass.
Well, you'll get.
Is that it straight ahead, way out there?
Well, there's a dirt pit right there.
I see the dirt.
Okay, well the runway or the airport's right there, the big grassy patch. You see that right there? Probably
Really?
about 10, 11 o'clock.
Oh, I need my glasses.
That's okay. You'll see it coming. You'll get used to it. Downtown traffic, Cherokee 135, 5 miles northeast of runway 8 downtown. Unusual attitudes. He's like, all right, that's good there, that's good there. Slow flight, deep turns. Which, like I said, that was my least. You can see the airport right here. See it?
Downtown on traffic 8 Fox Alpha, turn in final runway.
I think.
Downtown.
Oh, the water now.
Yeah,
After the
right
water.
there.
Yeah.
Look at the river.
Yeah.
Downtown traffic, Cherokee 135, entering left downwind of runway 8 downtown. Back this down a little bit. Get down to traffic altitudes, about 1800.
Everything she discussed about her check ride sounds rather typical. A practical test, as is properly known, is meant to be an objective analysis of a pilot's skills in accordance with the FAA Airman Certification Standard. It is mostly a predictable event and is only a snapshot of the candidate's skills on a particular day. Clearly, she spent a considerable time preparing, but it's possible she and/or her instructors focused on the test to the detriment of real-world skills. As she discussed her check ride experience, she'd maintained situational awareness while returning to the airport for the landing. The landing was hard to judge due to sun glare, but it looked fairly normal as well. From this flight, Jenny's skill level appears to be average for a private pilot. She was even diligent about clearing the runway properly after landing.
And once you get past this threshold right here, then you get your plane all the way across the threshold, and then you make your last call.
O'Brien, yeah.
Downtown traffic, Cherokee 135, clear the active, taxi to Todd Downs, downtown.
In July 2022, just 2 months after her check ride, she sold the Piper Cherokee, which she had done most of her training in, and bought the Beechcraft Debonair, a complex high-performance airplane with more sophisticated systems and avionics. That August, she posted a video of her flying the Beechcraft with her dad on board. Notice the autopilot is dead, as this model will always illuminate the annunciator lights for the default mode as soon as the aircraft is powered. So she's been hand flying this airplane on this flight and seems to do an okay job, though it's hard to tell exactly what's happening as no audio from this flight was recorded. In a later video, she can be seen flying with a gap in her instrument panel where the autopilot used to be, as she had sent it off for repair. She has also replaced the number 2 radio with a Garmin 355, a combination GPS and communication radio. Finally, she posted this video in which you can see she has had the autopilot reinstalled and it's powered up in standby mode before takeoff. Later in flight, they try it out.
Okay, so I'm going to hit on navigation. And I'm going to level off at about 4,500.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember where was that but altitude.
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
Yeah, see it's on. See the AP? AP means you turned it on.
OP means that turn.
Yeah, that stands for autopilot.
Oh, there's the alt.
Yep.
Remember that one showing up.
And yep, and the alt is altitude. And
Crap, is she down?
it's doing good. It's just turning right on course for you. It's holding the altitude, looks like. I think you have a working autopilot.
Woo!
I believe she had been flying with this particular instructor to help her get acquainted with the Beechcraft Debonair. I don't know how much time he spent with her discussing this autopilot. Maybe he did a ground school with her on the topic, but the instruction he gives her on this flight appears to be very rudimentary and not comprehensive at all. In any case, she is clearly happy to have the autopilot finally working after several repair attempts.
It feels so good to finally have a functioning autopilot that held altitude.
Was repairing her autopilot at the beginning of the end? After that, the next video, which she oddly labeled funny, is the one I called a dumpster fire. It seems that with all the complexity and equipment on board this aircraft, she began to forget the basics and her skills regressed. The next flight, she began training to earn her instrument rating. A few flights into instrument training with her new instructor, there is a video which shows an interesting discussion about the autopilot. Before I show that clip, I want to describe the autopilot a little bit more. It's a Century 2000, which did not come with this airplane when it was built, but was probably installed in the late 80s or in the 1990s, as it had been first introduced around 1987. It's a basic 2-axis autopilot which takes attitude, static air pressure, heading, and navigation inputs and sends commands to the pitch and roll servo motors. These apply forces to the elevator and ailerons to maintain the desired vertical and horizontal modes. In the particular setup in Jenny's Beechcraft, if the autopilot encounters excessive elevator loads, it will prompt the pilot to manually add nose down or nose up trim. In airplanes with electric trim, this would be done automatically. There are two basic vertical modes, a pitch mode, which Century calls attitude or ATT, and altitude hold mode, displayed ALT. ATT mode is the default and uses the elevator servo to simply hold the pitch as it was when it was engaged. The pilot can then adjust the pitch nose up or nose down with the up and down buttons. The pitch will increase or decrease about 1 degree for each second the button is pressed. The ALT mode maintains the altitude the aircraft was at when it was engaged using a connection to the aircraft's static air system. When it detects a change in outside air pressure, it will interpret this as an undesired altitude change and will pitch the nose up or down to return to the previous altitude. If the up or down button is pressed in any other mode, the autopilot will switch back to attitude mode. With that in mind, let's watch the clip.
Now, when it says ATT, what is that talking about? Attitude, it's not attitude, is it?
I forgot what it meant. I just know that once we get at the altitude, I just know we hit that button.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I think we might have to adjust the trim up, so it'll kind of help. And I don't know if we need to, if you ever increase power for a cruise power setting, or sorry, for a climb type thing.
Cruise the.
Because I think whenever I was doing that, it was kind of thinking. We'll throw that to 65. He was thinking that we were getting a little slower, so maybe it was coming back down because maybe it wasn't able to hold it because now it's still increasing up there, 1,000. And it keeps going higher and higher. So like if we add more power, we can get more climb out of it. Is what I'm thinking. We just had to trim it. It said trim up every once in a while. I think it's open because it keeps wanting. Back before we did that, it kept wanting to come back down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. All right, we're still going. We're still climbing. 70, 71. Maybe I should. It's going at 69. I need to
Well, it won't ever let you stall. It's holding there at VX is fine. Like that will climb it just pretty well.
Okay.
Like if it thinks that it's going to, you know, descend, then or stall, then that's when it's going to let its nose back down.
Nearly everything this flight instructor just said is wrong. First, he has an incorrect mental model of how the autopilot works. It does not know airspeed, the aircraft's V-speeds, or stall speed, or angle of attack. It's a primitive device and will not protect the airplane from dangerous situations. The first thing most pilots are taught about autopilots, especially older models like this, is that it will kill you if you let it. Many accidents have occurred when a pilot allowed an autopilot to fly the airplane into a stall or other undesired aircraft state. Second, he stands idly by and tells her that an airspeed of 69 to 71 knots is fine, even though she knows that the speed range is not proper for this airplane. These speeds would normally only be seen during liftoff and initial climb to 50 feet, or while deliberately practicing slow flight. The Beechcraft Debonair is considered a high-performance airplane with its large 470 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine. An airplane like this should be transitioned to a cruise climb speed after takeoff once at a safe altitude for engine cooling and forward visibility. Beechcraft recommends 104 knots. This instructor has done Jenny a disservice not only by feeding her misinformation about the autopilot, but also by giving terrible advice about the basic operation of this airplane. Additionally, in many videos, it could be seen that he had a tendency to micromanage the cockpit, acting like an overzealous co-pilot rather than a teacher. Did Jenny ever improve her flying and knowledge of her autopilot from what we just saw? Apparently not, according to another flight with Jenny and her father that occurred only 1 month before the fatal outcome. As seen in this video, there is still considerable confusion about how the autopilot works, and she's also once again forgotten the fundamentals of flight, as demonstrated by her attempt to climb with a very low engine power. Although this clip was already examined by another YouTube channel, I think it makes sense to include it here with the added context I've presented. I can't overstate how disturbing the situation was. Remember, this is 1 month prior to the crash that killed these two people. And what we see is a pilot who is distracted and doesn't really know what she's doing in the first place, and meanwhile we have a non-pilot passenger commanding the autopilot unprompted. In the airline industry, we would call this a breakdown of CRM, albeit unintentional. These two people think they're helping each other when they're actually working against each other. It was hard to see because of his head blocking the view, but Jenny's father, having no idea how a plane really flies or how the autopilot works, presses and holds the up button on the autopilot for a painfully long period. As mentioned earlier, this causes the autopilot to raise the nose of the airplane approximately 1 degree per second. Commanding a 30-degree pitch increase is diabolical. For context, the pilot of this turbocharged Beechcraft Bonanza performs a short-field takeoff and pitches up aggressively to obtain a steep initial climb, but still the attitude is only about 10 degrees nose up. For the amount of time he holds this button, this would almost certainly result in an excessive pitch up and a stall, and sure enough, that's nearly what happened. Does this mean Jenny's father could have contributed to the December 7th crash? It's hard to say, but he was all too ready and willing to try to help his daughter fly this airplane when he clearly had no business doing so. He may have contributed to their demise in more ways than one. In this clip, Jenny added a voiceover in which she implies that it was her dad that encouraged her to buy the Beechcraft.
He's always wanted a Beechcraft, and ever since I started pursuing learning how to fly, so I was actually kind of shocked that I love the Beechcraft as much as I do. But anyway, he loves it. I love it. Cadillac in the sky.
My father killed me.
What really caused this airplane to crash? That might be in the eye of the beholder. A below-average pilot with financial means who upgrades to a sophisticated airplane they're not ready for, only to end up burying themselves in it, is a tale almost as old as aviation itself. The direct ancestor of the Debonair, the V-tailed Beechcraft Bonanza, was introduced in 1947 and earned the nickname Fork-tailed Dr. Killer thanks to this phenomenon. Jenny Blalock is not the first nor the last pilot to overfly her capability, but perhaps in the age of social media, she is the first to do so in such a conspicuous and spectacular way. It's still hard to imagine how exactly this accident played out second by second, but it's obvious that the Blalocks had gotten themselves sucked into a toxic soup which they ultimately drowned in.